If you haven't seen the clip, last week, a video of myself went viral on Fox News being accused of not actually being from within Chicago city limits. While most of the attention on social media and the press was focused on the question of who can and cannot claim Chicago as their hometown, this segment itself was centered around a more pressing issue: the violence and dysfunction occurring on Chicago's west and south side. In response to the video, I wrote an article for the Huffington Post focused on turning the conversation about Chicago back to the real issue at hand. The bottom line is, rather than attacking each other about who isn't and is from Chicago, we should be focusing on the pressing issues that the new president will have to take on to help make Chicago a better place. So in the piece, I talk about a couple things. The first thing I talk about is visit Chicago. Donald Trump has to visit Chicago, America. This guy sits in the Oval Office, sits in what it was Trump Tower, now the Oval Office. He never has set foot in Inglewood. He has never set foot in Chicago's South Side. You can't fix a problem, America, until you actually understand the problem. And our good old friend Donald doesn't understand the problem. And the number one problem facing Chicago is the defunding of Chicago's public schools. Since September 2015, approximately $170 million has been stolen from Chicago's children to fund development projects, to fund big new high-rise buildings. And at the same time, while that's happening, 1,000 teachers have been laid off in Chicago's public schools. So you can't say you care about solving the violence in Chicago if you don't want to solve the root cause: hopelessness, joblessness, and mass incarceration. To fix hopelessness, we've got to fix Chicago's public schools. And I mean, it blows my mind that people miss the story here. So everybody's talking about how to actually fix Chicago, but they don't understand that the people of Chicago are trying to fix Chicago as well. In 2015, 12 parents and community members went on a total outright hunger strike in Chicago, right, to get a local public school in their neighborhood. It's called the Diet Hunger Strike. Look it up. If Trump and his allies really want the carnage to stop in Chicago, then they should focus their attention on improving Chicago's public schools. He should use his bully pulpit to urge Governor Bruce Rauner, or we like to call him Billionaire Bruce, and lawmakers in Springfield to actually put their money where their mouth is and fund Chicago's public schools. And the other thing that Donald Trump has got to do is he's got to have a conversation with law enforcement. Law enforcement isn't, putting more cops on the ground isn't the end-all be-all to fixing Chicago's problems. You've got to figure out why there is such a broken relationship between the Chicago Police Department and communities of color. In 2016, this past summer, we were all forced to watch in horror as Laquan McDonald was brutally murdered by the Chicago Police Department. This young man, he might have been on drugs, he might have been mentally deranged. That's neither here nor there. He was walking down the street with a knife and was shot 16 times from a police gun. How can we expect the people in the inner city of Chicago to actually trust the police when the police is the face of racism to them? The police are the ones that are arresting their father, brutalizing their mother, and killing their friend. And last but not least, the other issue that I think Donald Trump has really got to focus on if he really wants to fix the inner cities of Chicago is he has got to find a way, some way, to crack down on the proliferation of illegal guns on Chicago's west and south side. Guns on the street of Chicago didn't get there by accident. They got there because of weak gun laws in surrounding states and throughout the country. So because of weak gun laws in Arizona, people like myself, who I can buy a gun legally, can go into an Arizona gun show, buy enough weapons to blow up the Taliban, then drive up the street to Chicago and sell them to gangsters. Now, if you were to ask the NRA, they would tell you that that's not the problem. But the truth is, America, it is. And if the NRA really cared and the Republicans really cared about making Chicago streets safer, they would take on the NRA. Sadly, they're bought and paid for by the NRA. America, don't get me wrong. Where I grew up was literally right across the street from Chicago, on Howard Street, which was the border between Chicago and Evanston, Illinois. So now you know the truth. There is a video that now has 8 million views that has completely gone viral about where I'm from, blase, blase. But that's not the real issue. I have no problem with Gianno Caldwell. We're actually good friends. We're actually going to Chicago together next month to talk to people there. But sadly, I think the blogosphere and the media missed the purpose of the segment. The purpose of the segment was to have a constructive conversation on how to improve the streets of Chicago. And if Donald Trump thinks, and Gianno for that matter, and I love him as a brother, but I think on this issue we disagree, that putting the National Guard on in an American city is the way to solve the quote-unquote carnage in America's inner city, he's sadly mistaken. The National Guard and more law enforcement are only going to solve the symptom of a larger disease. If you truly want to revitalize America's inner cities, if you truly want to bring down the crime rate, if you truly want to end the killing, then create opportunity, create jobs, create schools that work, and most importantly, talk to the people who live in those communities.